right, good morning. Is the mic's working? Okay, great. Good morning and welcome to our fourth and final short health talk of the weekend. I'm going to talk about cognitive health today, which is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. My father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease about 11 years ago, and he currently lives with me and my family, and I oversee his care. And so over the years, I've done quite a bit of research into dementia prevention. And today, we're going to talk about lifestyle, diet, exercise, family and community, and supplements, and how all of these things can help reduce our risk of developing dementia as we age, and also how these things can help optimize our brain health as we age. So what's dementia? Well, dementia is not a normal part of aging. It's the deterioration of cognitive function beyond what's considered normal for aging. And dementia is not an inevitable consequence of aging. There's sort of a difference between, as we get older, maybe we have trouble remembering the word that's sort of at the tip of our tongue, or maybe we temporarily misplace our keys. That's sort of all normal for getting older. But what's not normal is forgetting how to perform a familiar task, like, not forgetting how to drive from your home to the grocery store, or forgetting in what order you get dressed in the morning. Also, people with especially early stage Alzheimer's tend to ask the same question over and over again just because they don't remember that they asked the question and they don't remember the answer. Dementia is the 7th leading cause of death worldwide. More than 55 million people live with dementia, and the number of people with dementia is going to triple in the next 30 years. There's different causes of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is by far the most common cause of dementia. It causes about 60 to 70% of all dementia cases. But we can also get dementia from Parkinson's disease, or Lewy body dementia, or chronic alcoholism, or traumatic brain injury. What distinguishes Alzheimer's disease is the development of amyloid plaques in the brain. Our brain consists of billions of brain cells that all communicate with each other so we can walk and talk and breathe. And what the amyloid plaques do is they get in the way of the development of new brain cells and also the ability of the brain cells to communicate with one another. And there's, several risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. One of them is age. We are more at risk as we get older. Also, sex and genetic disposition are risk factors, but mostly in women. There's a gene that's called the ApoE4 gene that's been linked with an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. But men that have this gene, it might not increase their risk at all, maybe only slightly increase it. But women who have this gene, it doubles our risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. And also just having chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension and high cholesterol or depression or anxiety. Those increase our risk of Alzheimer's disease too. So there's things we can focus on in our diet actually that help, like flavonoids. And berries are chock full of flavonoids. Any kind of berry, raspberry, strawberry, blueberry, all of them are chock full of flavonoids. And flavonoids reduce inflammation, and they help us form new brain cells. And just 1 cup of blueberries a day actually improves cognitive function. Also, it's great to add black and green tea or coffee, which I'm assuming most of us do anyway. But the nice thing is that black and green tea provide over 100 milligrams of flavonoids per cup. And then coffee, both caffeinated and decaf, also contains flavonoids. And then coffee also contains something called phenylenedines, which are non-flavonoid compounds that have been found to combat tangles and plaques in the brain. So, including black or green tea or coffee actually every day is a really good thing for our brain. Sleep. Sleep and memory are closely linked. So a lack of sleep hinders working memory, which is necessary for us to remember things for immediate use. There have been lots of studies that found that there's a higher risk in people that have sleep disorders, and as many as 15% of Alzheimer's disease cases can be attributable to poor sleep. And that's because our brain struggles to function properly with poor sleep because our neurons just don't have time to recuperate. Exercise reduces stress and anxiety, which are risk factors for cognitive decline. But again, it doesn't take a lot of exercise. There was a review article that looked at 98 studies, and that showed only 15 to 20 minutes a day actually improves cognitive function in adults. Reducing stress. We talked about this yesterday. Stress can cause inflammation in the brain. Well, that inflammation can actually increase our risk of dementia. There was a global study of over 32,000 people that found the perception of stress, which we also talked about yesterday, is linked to increased risk of dementia. So changing our response to stress will reduce our risk of getting dementia. And then having a strong social network of family and friends and loved one leads to better cognitive function. There was a study that looked at over 10,000 participants over 28 years, and the people that had the most frequent social contact in mid to late life, they had a much lower risk of getting dementia, because it turns out that that social contact that we have builds a cognitive reserve that our brains maintain over the years and lasts as we get older. The other thing about spending time with friends and family is it reduces depression and anxiety, which are risk factors for dementia. And it turns out that building and maintaining relationships increases connectivity between our brain cells, which then leads to healthier brain function. So this was an interesting study. Researchers compared two groups of elderly people ages 60 to 80. One group played video games for 4 weeks, the other group played solitaire, and the people that played video games actually had an improvement in hippocampal-based memory, which has to do with the transfer of information from short-term memory to long-term memory. And the results lasted for 4 weeks after people stopped playing the video games. And these were not special fancy video games. These were Super Mario and Angry Birds. It still helped. Languages, it turns out that people that speak more than one language have increased connectivity in certain areas of the brain that protect them from dementia. And actually, people who speak more than one language, even if they develop those amyloid plaques, they won't get symptoms until 5 years later, 5 years past people that only speak one language. And this is the last lifestyle thing I'll mention. But lifelong musicians have about a 59% reduction in the risk of developing dementia. My brother was happy to hear this. He's a rock and roll star. But it's never too late, because even older adults who started music lessons later in life had better working memory and better executive functioning than people who never had music lessons. So let's talk about some of Neolife supplements. Our Neolife tea is a great one to add because it's naturally rich in flavonoids from green, black, and white tea. It's anti-inflammatory, it has antioxidant activity, and flavonoids protect our brain cells and help them to work better in forming new connections. And I sort of can't believe I'm gone the whole weekend and not mention Tray. Tray is chock full of flavonoids. The main ingredients are pomegranate juice and acai berry and green tea, all of which are very rich in flavonoids. But also Tray contains a wide variety of polyphenols. Flavonoids are just one type of polyphenol, but Tray contains many different types of polyphenols, including punicolagens and resveratrol. So Tray is a great thing to add. And then our flavonoid complex. In addition to building more brain cells and helping with communication between brain cells, it turns out that flavonoids seem to protect the brain against the development of amyloid plaques. It's like it blocks the amyloid plaques from even developing in the brain. And then B vitamins. This was a really interesting study. So it was a review article of 21 studies, and the researchers concluded that B vitamin supplements delay cognitive decline in elderly adults. And the researchers were so blown away by the results of looking at all of these different studies that they do something they don't normally do, which is that they now recommend that B vitamins be used as a preventative tool for the delay for delaying the development of mild cognitive dysfunction in elderly adults. And then there's other studies that show that low B12 levels, even if it's sort of low to normal range, get in the way of cognitive function, and it's associated with poor memory performance. Our mind enhancement, it contains a blend of 7 herbs traditionally used to increase blood flow in the brain, which is going to help support memory and concentration. And we have to mention our Salmon Oil Plus. It's anti-inflammatory. It was shown in a clinical trial to reduce an important inflammatory marker by 68%. And then plus essential fatty acids are vital for the maintenance of normal brain function throughout life, because they help to preserve cell membrane health and they facilitate communication between brain cells. And I put these two products together, the magnesium complex and the vegan D, because studies show that a higher magnesium intake alone will help improve cognitive function in older adults, especially if they have adequate vitamin D levels. So vitamin D actually helps magnesium perform better when it comes to cognitive health. And we don't have to supplement with a lot of magnesium. We just need the RDA, which is 420 milligrams for men and 320 milligrams for women, with both supplements and diet combined. And there was another study that looked at over 6,000 postmenopausal women, and it showed that if they consumed the RDA in magnesium, then they had a much lower risk of cognitive decline. Upbeat. Dietary nitrates increase blood flow to the brain. Beetroot, which is one of the lead ingredients in Upbeat, has been shown to help older brains adapt to change more easily. And then beetroot also helped older adults have brain networks that more closely resembled young adults. Also, when seniors took beetroot, it improved their reaction time after only 2 weeks of taking it. Doesn't take long. And the last thing I was going to talk about is protein, because older adults don't get enough protein, which is essential for cognitive function. And the whey protein in our Neolife shake specifically has been shown to help people with mild memory issues improve their cognitive function. And then the MCT oil in our vegan protein has been studied extensively in people with early to mid-stage Alzheimer's, as well as mild cognitive impairment, and MCT oil optimizes brain health and improves brain function. So I just want to thank you all for listening today. I want to thank you all for attending this amazing event. And I want to especially thank you all for everything that you do to get the word out to end the trend. We have a righteous mission here at Neolife, and we just couldn't do it without you. So thank you, everyone.